Okay, this video is about compost. So this is household waste products like fruit skins and whatever else you've got, leftover food. This is how I do it myself. There's lots of ways to do this, but I put it into buckets, which I keep in my garden with a bit of water in. Then I take it to my big garden and I put it into a big tub with water in it. I put a little bit of cow dung in as well into the water, like loose cow dung, just like a cow pat off the field, and mix it. I keep it in water so it's anaerobic, it rots down anaerobically, and that can happen quite quickly. I'd probably leave it in there in the blue tub for about a month. In this picture here, what we're doing is, this is the dregs of the barrel, the water, because I've dug out the other bigger bits and I put them on the compost heap, and then we're just putting the water out with the cow dung, the last bits going into the top of the compost heap. It's important to turn the compost over. I usually turn mine over about once a month. So I put the compost in these boxes, which are basically 4 pallets with the backs taken off. You can use a whole pallet, but I prefer to take the back off and re-nail them up so they're nice and strong and they're thin and lightweight, rather than the whole sort of 6 inches thick pallet. And what I do is I move these boxes around the garden so the compost isn't sitting in one place, it's actually moved about. So you're actually fertilising land. So if I turn this compost heap over once a month and move it along the garden each time, move it about 6 feet along each time, in 6 months I've fertilised 6 spots of land along the way, as opposed to just leaving the compost heap in one place. So that's the efficient way to do it. If you leave the compost in one place, you're only going to fertilise one area. The finished product, of course, will fertilise your land, but in the meantime, you could have fertilised a lot more land by moving the box around and then ultimately tipping it out and spreading it around. So you're getting double use out of your compost. Because wherever your compost has been, the worms are going to be going up and down from the soil to that compost heap and chewing through it and pulling it all down into the soil, so that soil's highly fertile. After the compost is rotted, it depends, it can take 3 months, 6 months or a year, depending on what kind of heap I build. Sometimes I just put it as a heap on the ground and move it around. I prefer to keep it in the boxes. What I do afterwards, I sieve it. I sieve it through an old bed frame, and any bigger pieces that haven't rotten down or odds and ends, I throw them into the new compost heap, and then the filtered, sieved compost which goes through the bed frame, that goes onto the soil. So that's the way I do it, that's the method I use, and that seems to work for me.